Hello guys, welcome back to Buttons 4, and you probably heard that Games Workshop recently made a significant business decision that stirred up quite a bit of controversy among players. While the intricacies of these decisions and its implications deserve a thorough examination, I think I'm not the one to do this, so this video isn't focused on that aspect. But in essence, Games Workshop has made changes that have left substantial portion of its Age of Sigmar player base, well, feeling let down. And this isn't the first time such a situation has arisen. No, well, face it, it's not really likely that it will be the last one. Players with Piece of Chaos armies are facing the news that their miniatures won't be compatible with the latest versions of Age of Sigmar, requiring them to rebase their figures for use in the old wars. For some, this marked the second time they have to undertake such tasks to comply with Games Workshop requirements, and to be honest, basically for no reason. Notably, many of these affected miniatures, including the endless spells and certain heroes, are a relatively new addition to the game. Furthermore, the entire Sacrosanct Chamber range and several of the Stormcast Eternals miniatures will soon be out of print and no longer supported by Age of Sigmar rules or any other system for that matter. While some miniatures are being replaced by new versions and will continue to be supported by the rules, the Sacrosanct Chamber figures and their counterparts will be not. This development is particularly harsh because the miniatures were designed with the new players in mind, coinciding with the release of 2nd edition, a period that saw a significant influx of newcomers to the game. Those who embrace the game with genuine enthusiasm and affection will now find themselves amongst the hardest hit. The broader message being conveyed to those who doesn't own these specific miniatures is that their purchase and time investments are no longer guaranteed to yield the long-term benefits. Many players expect their purchase to remain usable in the latest versions of the game for at least a decade, if not longer. However, this trust has been somewhat shattered. As a long-time Warhammer 40k player, I just have one thing to add, and it is first time. Well, some might suggest sticking with the previous editions of the game, proxying models, or using them for casual play. The reality is that the few will take up these options. Gaming communities, especially those centered around competitive play, tend to gravitate toward the latest official version of the game, and the players want to remain active participants in their communities. Many would rather endure the time and financial investments required to build a new army, or regrettably quit altogether, rather than to attempt to reverse the time and reverse the previous versions of the game. While it's true that these miniatures will continue to be supported in some capacity, it provides a little solace. For the next year, players will be left to question the value of investing time in mastering an army that they will likely be unable to use after a year or two has passed. Furthermore, players are being compelled to detach themselves from the innovation of playing the latest version of Age of Sigmar, or if they are playing the unaffected armies, they still have cause to question the wisdom of staying committed to the latest rule. If you are watching this video and if you are Age of Sigmar player, you can let me in the comments the answer for this question, and that is, if you are distancing yourself from the latest official rules, is really the Age of Sigmar 3rd edition truly the game you want to play forever? I'm genuinely curious, so leave me your answer in the comments if you really want to stick to the current 3rd edition of Age of Sigmar and really want to play it forever and not evolve to the latest editions. To be honest, I'm really interested in your answers. There is, some speculation circulating that Games Workshop actions are motivated, by the pure desire to compel players to purchase new armies. However, I find this theory not really probable. This particular model range doesn't seem like the type that would be discounted for such reasons. Frankly, I don't really believe the Games Workshop is overly concerned about how the game, or more like the factions itself, balance each other, because all they care is basically their profit margins. Games Workshop is primarily a miniature company. It's not a wargaming company, not like the other in the field would say. Game Workshop is primarily miniature company, and I would even go so far and said it's not entirely a games company at all. The company objectives isn't to create the board's best games. Rather, it's to produce the finest miniature and sell them to globally at a profit, a mission they intend to carry out forever. That's not my opinion, it's not my words, but these are words from Games Workshop itself. While these sentiments might be from the older quote from Games Workshop, couple of years, I think the financial dynamics remain largely unchanged. As James Hibbett, the designer of the first edition of Age of Sigmar, explicitly stated, the company priorities lies in miniatures, then background, and then rules. As publicly traded entity, their priorities are structured in this manner because their profitability follows suit. In essence, while Games Workshop employees likely possess, probably, a genuine passion for the quality and diversity of the game, the company business realities dictates otherwise. Basically, what he says is that the Games Workshop doesn't really care if you enjoy the game. If you bought their miniatures and then go and paint them with their paints, and then you are going to play on the table with their terrains, where I must say, unlike the Warhammer 40k, the Age of Sigmar table still doesn't look like a truth, but pretty good. If you do all of this stuff, well, Games Workshop, it's in Games Workshop. Nobody cares if you actually enjoy the game. You bought their minis, you bought all the other stuff. Games Workshop has your money. The shareholders are okay with just your money. They don't need to buy your happiness or something like that. Games Workshop isn't going to deliver the fantasy miniature war game of your dreams, at least not in the way you probably envision it. Fundamentally, they can't. Or, we could say, they don't even care about it. But what's the most funny is I'm so long in the hobby and I was so long playing Games Workshop games that I know that even after all of this, making some sort of competitor game to Games Workshop's formidable ecosystem, which fosters robust and extensive communities deeply entrenched within its confines, nothing will change. Individuals typically acquire Games Workshop miniatures to play Games Workshop games, painting them with Games Workshop paints, and using Games Workshop tutorials for painting. Whatever Games Workshop implements some sort of unpopular decision, it somehow disrupts the singular ecosystem, scattering some players across various alternative games. However, since this dissatisfied players don't unite under some sort of single competitor but many other games, none of these alternatives can rival to the colossal Games Workshop entity. While some individual companies might benefit to some extent from influx of these players, the critical mass necessary for any effective change remains elusive. Many disillusioned players, despite the experience agreements, opt to remain within the Games Workshop ecosystem, purchasing new armies, proxying models, and persisting with the game that could potentially betray their invest and time in any time. Like any well-fortified wild community, it displays a remarkable resilience against external or even internal threats. After all, even with all of this, and for many of the players not for the first time, Games Workshop players are basically happy with it. Because it's Games Workshop that screw them over. Because it's not just some regular screw over. It's copyrighted Games Workshop TM screw over. And after all, Games Workshop fans loves Game Workshop stuff. So, there was some news about the Age of Sigmar. If you find it interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and hopefully see you on the next one. Bye, guys.